I can't believe I'm saying this, but the GFS was right. We have some good news right now. In the last video I said there was a chance that Tropical Storm Nate could become a major hurricane. There was a legitimate chance at that, but now the chances of that are decreasing. The trend today has been west and weaker. And guess what I said in the last video? Roll the clip. But every single GFS ensemble has it going straight into Louisiana. The GFS also has it at a weak tropical storm making landfall, unlike the Euro, which has it as a Cat 2 hurricane. So the GFS has it weaker and a bit more to the west. The European model has it stronger and a bit more to the east. I said the GFS had Nate weaker and west, and I said the Euro had it stronger at Cat 2 and a little to the east. And guess who's right now? The GFS is. Right now, Tropical Storm Nate is a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm. So it's at the very least of what a tropical storm is. Right now, Nate is on top of Honduras. And as of right now, Nate isn't looking so well because land surely doesn't help tropical system. There's of course tropical storm warnings out for Honduras and Nicaragua, but now there's also tropical storm warnings from the northeast side of the Yucatan Peninsula. For everyone in the Yucatan Peninsula, it's not looking like Nate's gonna get the chance to strengthen into a hurricane by the time it gets over the Yucatan Peninsula. But after that and it gets into the Gulf, Nate might have a chance at attaining that hurricane status. But right now, the latest National Hurricane Cone lines up with all of the spaghetti models. The average of the spaghetti models has Nate going straight to New Orleans. And you know what happens if a hurricane makes a direct hit near New Orleans. Storm surge and flooding. That's why in some places along the Louisiana coast, there's mandatory evacuations already, even though Nate might just be a Cat 1 hurricane. Already, the forecast totals for rain is around 5 inches. But I'm sure as Nate gets closer and closer to the Louisiana coast, those projected totals are going to increase. But with the trend westward, that means it's going to be a weaker storm overall. That's because it's going to interact with land for a longer period of time. The Euro didn't have it making landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula. This would have allowed for Nate to take full advantage of the warm waters in the Caribbean Sea. But now that it's going to go over the Yucatan Peninsula, it's not going to have time to truly rapidly strengthen. It still has the potential to do so, but it's looking less and less likely. Anywhere from Pensacola to Panama could start to relax a little bit as you are no longer in the projected cone, but for all the people in New Orleans, Louisiana, you are actually directly in the line of this cone. And it's projected to make landfall as a Category 1 hurricane. I know it's only a Cat 1, but that still has the potential to do some major impacts, including storm surge and flooding. The wind impact may not be there, but the storm surge threat is still going to be there. Either way, there's still mandatory evacuations up. Almost every single one in the spaghetti models doesn't have Nate strengthening into a hurricane. Just like in the last video, it has forecasted the same strength to a high-end tropical storm. This gives a little confidence in the forecast that Nate might not even become a hurricane, and Nate might just make landfall as a tropical storm. But trust me, don't underestimate Nate. You can't trust any hurricane, especially when a system is going over those warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. But for right now, Nate is not looking good at all. It was definitely looking better in the last video. But that is to be expected since Nate is now going over land. But soon it's going to re-emerge over the Caribbean Sea, and it's going to be interesting to see how much does Nate strengthen. Because that's going to matter for the intensity down the road. And I'm talking down the road for the US. The GFS now has Nate making landfall in Louisiana as a high-end tropical storm. The European model is in agreement with that. But this time, I'm surprised that the GFS got it right. Usually this whole hurricane season, the European model has been right. But this time, the GFS got it. The GFS got it from the beginning. That's a little victory for the GFS. But don't forget, don't underestimate Nate. Nate still has the potential to become a hurricane. Whether or not it's a high-end tropical storm or a low-end Cat 1, the differences aren't a lot. The storm surge threat is still going to be there and the flooding threat is still going to be there. If you live along the coast near New Orleans, make sure you're not in a mandatory evacuation. If so, you gotta evacuate. It's a mandatory evacuation. I'm going to upload one more video before Nate makes a landfall in the US. In that video, we're going to finalize the impacts for sure. But don't forget, Louisiana is going to be under a hurricane watch very soon. Most likely when you're watching this video, the Louisiana coast is going to be under a hurricane watch. Just a little heads up on that. Subscribe right here to stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.